Have you ever noticed how a game's music pulls you in before you even touch the controller? Before you make a single choice, before the story begins, something happens. You hear it, a sound, a cue, a moment of music that welcomes you into its world. It's subtle, it's fleeting, and yet it is everything. When we think about Star Wars music, we think of grand orchestras, sweeping themes, and unforgettable leitmotifs. Legendary scores and legendary music, much like we see right now in the recording of Duel of the Fates. Now, as Star Wars has evolved, more content has been created beyond the Skywalker saga. And one of the best pieces of content so far are the games Star Wars Jedi, Fallen Order, and Survivor. The score for these games was composed by Stephen Barton and Gordy Happ. For Jedi Survivor, it was recorded in Abbey Road Studios 1, over 4 weeks, 215 cues, and more than 8 hours of music. So, if it is not clear by now, this week Thematic Breakdowns presents Episode 7, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, an Immersive Galaxy. So you might be wondering, which of the 8 hours of music that the game has are we going to analyze? Well, it is the music that accompanies the logos. Yes, this right here, because this is where your journey begins. Not with a cutscene, not with a mission, but with this small musical moment that many don't even realize they're absorbing. We're going to analyze the music from the logos, because that is where immersion begins. So let's very quickly deconstruct what is happening musically. We start with a low drone and high strings, which are then joined by a melody in the French horn, which immediately makes us think of iconic Star Wars music, like the Force theme. And then, the high strings take us into a new section. Here, we get a little run from the flute along with some metallic percussive hits. And at the same time, we have the low strings and the lone drone adding some accompaniment and movement to the second section. And then, through what sounds like an earthquake hit, some blowing wind and metallic sound design is incorporated for the game's title card. So, without trying to overanalyze what is happening, let's put these three sections together. Now, to me, very clearly each one has a purpose. The first one, through the French horn, is calling back to Star Wars. It's making you remember you're a Jedi. The Force is with you. Then, through the flute run and metallic hits, we remember we're immersing ourselves in a galaxy far, far away, evoking the iconic use of woodwinds in the original Star Wars music. And then finally, through the sharp metallic sound, the blowing wind, the earthquake hit, we remember we are survivors. We're here to survive against the Empire. Now, this is what makes game music different from film music. In a film, music guides you through a story that unfolds on its own. In a game, music prepares you for choices you're about to make. It creates immersion, not by dictating emotion, but by inviting you into the space where emotions will be shaped by you. So, to understand this a little bit better, let's introduce a term from game music theory, which is called transdiegetic sound. Transdiegetic sound is the blurred line between music that exists within the game's world and music that exists for the player. And if we apply this term into this little cue that opens up Star Wars Jedi Survivor, we understand that here the logo music acts almost like a doorway. It's outside the game world, but it's also part of it, drawing you in before the experience truly begins. Now, take this as an introduction to transdiegetic sound and music, as that is what the next episode of Thematic Breakdowns will cover more deeply. So what does this analysis tell us? First of all, the importance of building cues around the audience's experience. Sometimes, these begin even before they realize they have. In the quiet, in the build-up, in the unassuming moments that prepare us to step into something greater. Secondly, atmosphere and emotion matter beyond complexity. Take a look at the simplicity of that little cue and see how much it does to transport you into a world before you've even stepped into it. And when talking about games, how transdiegetic music is a powerful ally. But don't worry if you're a little bit lost on that one, because that's what we'll cover in the next episode of Thematic Breakdowns. So thank you so much for checking out this very small episode of Thematic Breakdowns. If you liked what you saw, the button is down below. If you want to stay up to date with more content, the button is also down below, and the link to buy me a coffee is in the description. So as I have already said before, remember to stay tuned for the next episode of Thematic Breakdowns on transdiegetic sound. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next one.